Dan and Amy, good morning. And boy, here's a book deal that Steve Moore would love to get, but he's not a liberal Democrat, so he's not going to get it from a major imprint like HarperCollins. Turns out Cuomo II, the governor of New York, possible presidential candidate for the Democrats in 2020.
Oh, boy.
He was inked by HarperCollins in 2014 to write his memoir. Because, I mean...
Oh, I'm chomping at the bit to read that.
All the fascinating vicissitudes of Andrew Cuomo's life. He's such an enigmatic, compelling figure, isn't he? Do you even know who he is? Here's the thing. Very optimistic in terms of how popular his memoir would be. HarperCollins, which is owned by News Corp, by the way, had an initial print run of 200,000 copies. The book sold 3,200 copies. So far, 3,200 copies in 3 years.
In 3 years? Whoa.
And he was paid
$218,000,
according to his 2016 tax filings that were made public this week. That is $245 per book. Nice bet by HarperCollins. Sometimes I look at these book deals, particularly when they're to really handsome royalty deals for politicians, as a way for companies to funnel money to preferred politicians by giving 200,000 copies of Andrew Cuomo's memoir. Okay. All right, but we need Steve Moore to adjudicate a more important matter, and this is Tucker Carlson and Mark Cuban the other night talking about Trump's Buy American, High American executive order, specifically focused in on the H-1B visas. These are the visas for that are done by a lottery system right now, which Trump is aiming to reform. That are for highly skilled workers to come from foreign countries to do jobs that ostensibly a company cannot find a qualified American to do. So listen to this exchange.
We have a massive labor pool that's educated in our system, and yet they're being turned away in favor of people who are educated abroad.
Yeah,
that
but
does
you
not
know
help
what?
America in any way.
Well, again, part of what's going to change is the visa hoarding. I can't emphasize that enough. That is where Americans get undercut in the pricing for jobs. Problem, we agree there. But where there is better talent external that's global, we have to go get them. Otherwise, those people are going to go to other companies around the world. They're going to come in and compete with our companies. And not only will the job be lost that was given to the better talent, but the companies that needed them, all those other people that work for those companies may lose their jobs as well. So from the bigger picture, and look, Tucker, either you believe in capitalism, either you believe in the market economies, or you don't. There's no in between. And part of that market economy, part of capitalism is how people compete for jobs, right?
I love that. When did the left become addicted to market fundamentalism?
Oh, no.
There are many in-betweens. Of course there are.
I'm not the left, Tucker. Tucker, I'm not the left by a long shot.
Would you apply market forces to your marriage, to your family? I mean, there are limits to how far. No, I'm serious. Capitalism is not a religion. It's an effective way of generating wealth, but to the extent it hurts Americans, shouldn't we respond? I mean, we don't do something just because it's like
big
consistent
question.
with capital. I don't know. You're the one who said, well, are you against capitalism? I like capitalism. But when it hurts Americans, I'm willing to make adjustments. Wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Tucker Carlson is wrong there. He's partially right, but he's wrong in the big picture. I'll tell you what else is not a religion: industrial policy. That's what he's talking about when he talks about making adjustments. Who's going to make adjustments? Adjustments are going to be made by force. Capitalism is not only the most efficient way to disperse scarce resources, it's also the most moral. And the failure of Tucker Carlson to make the moral argument for capitalism is a major failure. And Tucker, I would put back to Tucker Carlson. Cuban did a half-assed job, frankly, of defending his position. But I would put back to Tucker Carlson. You believe in the free movement of capital. Why not the free movement of labor? If there's somebody in South Korea that is better, that is the best in the world at doing a particular job, then why shouldn't an American company be able to bring that person over and hire that person?
My friend is here on a
H-1B.
1B visa. She's a molecular biologist trying to find a cure for cancer. They brought her over here from Serbia. They brought her family over here to try and find a cure for cancer. At Northwestern Memorial hired her just for that, to bring her over here.
I'm confused that we want the best and the brightest unless they displace someone who is not as good at a particular job. That kind of protectionism leads us down the road of where we took the U.S. auto industry in the late 70s. And so Tucker Carlson, his grade school girlish, like, giggling aside, is wrong, in my opinion. But I have to submit this to a higher authority. That higher authority is Steve Moore, chief economist for CNN.
Yeah.
Wall Street
didn't
Journal
you know?
columnist, Donald Trump economic advisor. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. Good morning. By the way, I'm in Champaign, Urbana today, and
Heard of it?
did a dinner last night at the Lincoln Club, and I couldn't believe how many people came up to me and said, I listen to you on Dan and Amy every Wednesday
Oh,
morning."
great.
Oh.
So you got a big fan base
Nice
here in,
Thursday.
at the University of Illinois. It's great to hear.
Great. Well, adjudicate this Tucker Carlson, Mark Cuban, and tell me
Okay.
I'm right.
Sure. So, look, the country would be much better off if we didn't have Dirk Nowitzki, right?
Yes,
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
right.
he was hired, of course, by Mark Cuban, and German, one of the best basketball players in the world. And look, we are so advantaged as a nation economically by the fact that through immigration, we are able to get the best and the brightest and the hardest working people. It's been a formula that has been such a massive success for us. So when it comes to talented people, engineers, mathematicians, scientists, chemists, yes, let's bring the best in the world. Now, have there been some abuses to the H-1B program? Yeah, there have. You know, with the stories about Disney, requiring their American workers to train their replacements from other countries. That's an abuse of the system. And I don't want to see American workers displaced. But, the evidence is pretty clear. The more of these really highly talented people we bring in, the more jobs we have for Americans. And I'll give you an example of why that's the case. Because, Dan, you had it right, and this is one of the few times when I disagree with Tucker. When I was out in Silicon Valley recently and gave a talk at Google, I couldn't believe, there are probably 400 of the workers there. I looked out, it was like the United Nations. I've never seen anything like it. There was a German sitting next to a Taiwanese, sitting next to an American, sitting next to somebody from Mexico, Australia. No other place in the world does that happen in the United States. And the most interesting thing is that when you look at those technology companies and the engineering companies, a huge percentage of them were actually founded by immigrants. So these companies wouldn't even be here if it weren't for
How about
they hire American workers.
How about since you're in Champaign, Urbana, how about the story of Shahid Khan, who founded the company right out of coming from, I believe, Pakistan to found
Indian or Pakistani,
found this auto parts company right after getting an engineering degree from U of I, became a billionaire, bought the Jacksonville Jaguars. Was that a value add? I think so.
Yeah, well, there's no question about it. Immigrants are highly entrepreneurial. And by the way, I think that this is the one case where I think Tucker had it wrong. When you bring in really talented people, that means that there's more businesses here and less of them in India and China and these other places that might take their jobs. So, look, my immigration policy is very simple. People have to come in legally, no question about it, and people have to come in. People want to come in and work and add to our economy. Hell yes, we want them. It's the immigrants who come in and want to go on welfare or use our, abuse our public assistance programs. That's what costs us. But hell, yeah, we need the workers, and it's the same thing, by the way, for the workers who are in the fields picking our fruits and vegetables and some of the best working. You'd have to practically shut down every restaurant in Chicago if you didn't have some of these Mexican immigrants.
That's true. Well, what about, so Trump was recently in Wisconsin with the executive order to buy America, hire America.
Yeah.
Can he start with maybe some of the items in his own company, like Trump ties? Can we be made in America, maybe?
Well,
Get a textile plant up and running?
He doesn't always practice what he preaches, but look, my attitude about Buy America is I buy America. I don't know about you guys, but I do look for the Made America label, because if it comes down to, buying something that was made by an American worker in Illinois or Michigan or Ohio, or somebody in Mexico City or Beijing, yeah, I want all things equal buy the product from the United States. I grew up from parents from the World War II Depression era. Their entire lives they would never buy a German or Japanese car because of World War II, and they bought American. And look, if you want to be patriotic and do that, it's a good thing. Now, should the government require it of you? I don't think so. I don't want to see terrorists. But the idea that if you've got two contracts federal government is involved in. And they're both really close, and one is from a Chinese company, and one is from a company in Schaumburg, Illinois. All things equal, yeah, why not pick the one that's American? I don't know, Dan, am I sacrificing my free market principles?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, a little bit. I mean,
Are you guys still friends?
you want the you want the lowest responsible bidder, right? I mean, that's the point.
Well,
And with respect to the federal government, I mean, once you start limiting those who can compete, who are otherwise qualified to compete, what happens? Price goes up.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, look, I think you're mostly right there. What I'm saying is, if they're close, but by the way, if you buy the contract in China, that may mean 400, 500 American workers lose their jobs, and then they have to have unemployment, and then they're not going to pay taxes and so on. So it may not be such a good deal for the government to do this, but I will say this, that if you got a contract that is, much cheaper to do in some other country, and then the federal government says, no, we're going to buy it in Minnesota, guess who pays for that? You and I do. We're the taxpayers.
Right.
We pay for these contracts.
That's right.
It's
Well,
not free.
all right. I all the big brains got together. You, Forbes, Kudlow, and you wrote this op-ed in the New York Times. Why are Republicans making tax reform so hard? So answer the question that you posed in your op-ed.
Yeah, why are they making? I just have to ask the question again. Why are they making it so difficult? We should have had this done months ago. It should have been done in the first 100 days. Just cut the business taxes. We have the highest corporate and small business taxes in the world. Get those down. Almost every economist, almost everyone except Paul Krugman, believes that our tax rates are way too high. They're eroding our competitiveness. They're chasing our jobs and our factories out of this country. Get those tax rates down. And here's the thing, Dan and Amy, do it as a tax cut. I'm so tired of this idea of revenue neutrality and we need pay fors and all this stuff. No, Ronald Reagan cut taxes, John F. Kennedy cut taxes. They didn't say we're going to make it revenue neutral. They said we're going to cut taxes to grow the economy, and that's what Republicans should be doing now. And they got to get this done. This idea that they're going to put it off till 2018 is ridiculous. I mean, the economy is faltering a little bit right now because investors are getting very nervous about whether Trump is going to get this done.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement there. I think you guys have it sussed out properly. They need to have a bit more sense of urgency on this matter than they've shown to this point.
Yeah, and do you remember Bob Novak, the great...
sure, the Prince of Darkness. Yes.
Yeah, well, Bob Novak, I mean, this is something we should never forget. Bob Novak used to say, the only reason God put Republicans on this earth was to cut taxes.
Well, I don't know about that.
So let's never forget that one. Cut taxes and get them down low now.
And you brought it full circle. You're in Champaign, and you close with a reference to Bob Novak, a U of I grad. So very nicely done. Steve Moore, chief economist for CNN, Wall Street Journal columnist, Donald Trump economic policy advisor. Steve, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay, have a great weekend, guys. Bye.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen.